What's up, everybody? Howdy, howdy, howdy. Hope everybody's having a good night. Happy Friday. Woo! Telling you, it's been a long one. Long one. Glad you guys are all here. Good stuff. We're going to get this going here in a little bit. All right. Let's get the chat set up. All right. So I am going to be going on the Seeker of the Unknown page. If you guys want to type in there, it should come up. So see if this works. All right. Man, got a good show. Got a good show. See how this sounds real quick. Check this out. Yeah, what we're going to be discussing tonight is going to be the ancient Sumerians. I'm going to be talking about the Anunnaki as well. And some of those. Tonight is going to be the ancient Sumerians. Talking about the Anunnaki as well. Hold on, I'm just checking it out to see how this sounds. Make sure the music's not too loud. Hold on, I'm just checking it out to see how this sounds. Make sure the music's not too loud. All right, cool. Hold on, I'm just checking it out to see how this sounds. Woohoo! It's not too loud. All right. So, welcome everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. Ready to get this show going. All right. So, if you can see the chats, let me know if you could type in there, and then we can make sure that that's working. All right. How's it going? How's it going? All right, cool. So the chat's working. I'm already up on there. So if you guys have anything to say or you guys want to get on, let me know. But like I said, today we're going to be talking about the ancient Sumerians. We're going to be talking about the Anunnaki. We're going to be talking about the King's List. We're going to be going over the 7 rulers that lived during this time and were ruling on the ancient King's List. Craziness, man. And there's a bunch of similarities in between the ancient Sumerians and the Old Testament, and where we get a lot of these Old Testament stories and where we find out that it's really interesting because a lot of people don't know this, and I didn't really know it either until I started diving into it and looking into the whole history of everything that they won't tell you because, like I said, you got to look up your own stuff and get into it. But a lot of people don't know this, that during the time of Jesus's period, I'm just going to get into this real quick. It's nothing really crazy, but when Jesus left when he was 12 to when he was 33, when he comes back and he's riding the donkey back into Jerusalem, and that's supposedly supposed to, signify, prophecy of the Messiah coming back into Jerusalem, is that people don't realize that Jesus did leave to go live in Egypt with his mother, Mary. All right. And that during that time, Jesus was learning the ancient scriptures, um, the Emerald Tablets. He was learning mysticism. He was learning healing. He was learning all this stuff from them. And I, like I said, I didn't know any of this until I started looking into some of this um, information that was being studied on by other archaeologists or other philosophers that were going in and finding this stuff and then translating these tablets and translating these scrolls. And we find the similarities between a lot of the ancient Sumerians and the Old Testament. And you find a lot of similarities between the Sumerians and the Egyptians, because it's said that Enki and Enlil were the rulers on this earth. And if you don't know who Enki and Enlil is, they are the ancient gods of ancient Sumeria from the Anunnaki. And the Anunnaki basically means the gods from the stars, or the sky gods. And so what it is that Enki and Enlil, who are the sons of Anu, who was the ruler of the planet Nibiru. And if you don't know anything about Nibiru, what it is that Nibiru was a planet that we now know as scientific fact, that there was a planet that was orbiting within our area, within the US, and within the Earth's atmosphere, within around an orbit in the solar system, that collided with another planet, and pieces of that planet broke up, and they think that it created our where our moon is from. And some people think that there are, where you get Saturn's rings from is because it's just ancient debris from this planet that broke up and just formed Saturn's rings. But anyway, long story short was that the planet had collided with another planet, and it goes back all the way to the ancient times of seeing this planet, Nibiru, which the Anunnaki are from. And it goes back all the way to, I believe they were saying it was the time of ancient destruction that you find in the Bible. But I'm not going to get into all that jazz because that's something for another show. But we are actually seeing that the Anunnaki and their teachings correlate their ancient Mesopotamia into ancient Judaism, which we now have as Christianity. And the similarities between the two are just vast. It's too much to overlook. It's too much to just pass up and say, oh, well, it's just coincidence, when in fact it's not, because we find out that you have Moses, who was a bloodline of Jesus, who is actually the bloodline of Adam, the first man, who was created by the Anunnaki. And it talks about it in the ancient Sumerian cuneiforms that the Anunnaki created men in their image, not from the dust of the ground, but from other sapiens that were here on Earth. And like I said, a lot of this stuff that we're going to get into, a lot of people are going to be like, man, this is horse crap. Don't take my word for it. Like LeVar Burton used to say on Reading Rainbow, for some of you youngins that don't remember that, don't take my word for it. But I'm going to go through some stuff and you can check it out for yourself. There are actually tablets that you can go see. They have some in the British Museum, and they have some in the museums in Egypt. There's some in Mesopotamia where you can go to. If you look at the ancient city of Ur, if anybody doesn't know what that is, that's in Iraq. Saddam Hussein actually believed that he was a descendant of these sky gods, that he had his rightful place to rule as king over that land, because he believed that his ancestors actually came from the ancient kings Gilgamesh. And if you don't know, Gilgamesh was actually a demigod. And hold on. How's everybody doing? Who's on right now? Because I can't see it. Sorry. Yeah, you guys can type on here if you need to. And like I said, I mean, just write in the comments, and if you can't see it, you should be able to. Hopefully. Yeah, it's working. So, I'm going to get some stuff to share with you guys. You guys can check it out. And we will go from there. All right, let me open this one. There is a lot of history. I got some more books on um, the Ancient Kings list. I got some more stuff on the ancient Sumerian writings. I actually got the Epic of Gilgamesh. Yeah, this is going to be a good one. So let's check this out. All right. So right here we have the description of what the Anunnaki are. And what it says is basically is that it's ancient, the Anunnaki, who was a Sumerian word, are deities of the ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. So the earliest writings that come from them, and like I said, this stuff is over 5,000 years old. And you have ancient texts that are talking about these sky gods came from the sky and these bright lights and started getting them form and teaching them knowledge. Actually, basically, what they were trying to do was make the people that were here slaves, because going back to the planet Nibiru, their planet had gotten destroyed and there was a crack in the atmosphere, so it was causing a lot of fluctuations in their habitat, and they couldn't survive, so they started fleeing. So the reasons why they came to Earth, or they found Earth, was because we had gold, vast amounts of gold. They had found it. And when they got here, the deities, the ancients who were here, and it gets into this in the Sumerian tablets where it talks about these people that were here, these beings that were already here on Earth. They didn't look like we do now. They didn't look like humans. They were different in a matter of, mental capacity, their body. Anunnaki came down and just basically started making them into slaves, started terraforming the earth for minerals, and using these slaves to do it for them, because they were like, we ain't gonna freaking do this ourselves. Why don't we just make these people do it? So when you look at a lot of the the symbolism of the ancient Anunnaki, like you have right here, you have the worshippers coming to pray to this deity, and there's seals that they have that are, these are the three members of the Anunnaki: Inanna, Utu, and Inki. Enlil's not in this one, but we know that Enlil is here. So Marduk, let me look this up real quick. It says texts from the old Babylonian period support the pronunciation of Marduk, blah, blah. So Marduk appeared with Enki in Ur, which, like I said, was the ancient city that's Saddam Hussein uncovered, and actually wanted to raise ancient Babylon back. And he believed, Saddam Hussein believed, that he was actually a descendant of Marduk. But anyway, I'm going to go back because Marduk is a prominent figure in the ancient Sumerian culture. Close that. All right. Let me play this for you guys really quick. So you kind of get the gist. So you're not listening to me talk about it. You can check this out for yourself. Oops. All right, and then what it gets into is Anu, who is the father of these other gods, Inki and Lil. This is when he starts sending them out, and he's like, "Yeah, we got to go to Earth." Ooh, he's traveling. Check him out. So here we have. I'm just going to get into like the story of how when they got here and they started. Ah, what are you doing? Sorry. So how it was explained to me was that if you look at the Ajiji and you take the movie of the Planet of the Apes, it's the same storyline. It's the same storyline, except you just replace the Ajiji, which is crazy, right? So this is why you get the ancient myths of these creatures that were walking around on the earth in ancient times. You got cyclopses, you have, these half centaurs, you have, these half animal, half human offspring, or these like mixtures of these humans with these animals, is from this experimentation that was going on. This is the bloodline of Noah. Hmm. Hmm. Sound familiar, right? Sound familiar? So right there you have, it's pretty much a whole freaking gist of Old Testament, right? And here we are, we're made to believe that God came down and he was doing all this jizzle jazzle, when this story goes back thousands of years before that. So yeah, we have, there are the stories that the Anunnaki were called the Watchers, the fallen ones. And like I said, this is where it starts getting interesting, because you have these ancient texts that are talking about I can't find it. Anyway, so yeah, you have the Watchers who were said to be the fallen ones who fell and were sent here to watch over humankind and help them and kind of guide them in a way. And like I said, this comes back all the way before any of this stuff, before anything in the Bible. This is why, it tripped me out because, like I said, I did not know this or look in. I didn't really, like I said, I didn't really know a lot about it. Because you're taught one thing one way and you're being shown something else. It really is different. It's not the same. And the similarities between the two are just, it's vast. It's a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of information that's out there that a lot of people don't want to take the time to look at or to research on their own or to figure this stuff out because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to see the the similarities, not the differences. They just want to know, oh well, that doesn't have anything to do with the Bible or the Word of God, which in fact it actually does, because we find that the bloodlines of the ancient Sumerians and the Anunnakis actually runs through, you just heard it. They created man. You had Cain and Abel, and then from that bloodline goes all the way down into Noah, and it goes in and they start talking about the let me see. It's not the one I wanted. All right, let's continue this.
Secretly had love affairs with humans. The children generated between the Anunnaki and humans were capable of amazing things, being considered demigods that would leave their names eternalized in legends of several peoples. Some of the most famous were Gilgamesh, Hercules, Perseus, and Samson. But the children of the Ajiji with humans were bestial and evil giants who became forever known as Nephilim. They usually lived in hill caves, but attacked human dwellings and caused much trouble for the Anunnaki. Even without the Anunnaki support, the humans flourished and built cities of their own. Without the Anunnaki to dictate rules, the humans went into decadence. Thievery, debauchery, and violence were common in the cities, and it seemed impossible to control human barbarism. But everything was about to change. The orbit of the planet Nibiru was approaching the Earth, an event that only happened every 3,600 years. The Anunnaki knew of the impending disaster,
which is what they're saying is coming up.
Nibiru would reverse the Earth's magnetic poles, causing earthquakes, volcano eruptions, and tsunamis. The Anunnaki's final decision was to abandon humans, return to their ships, and flee into space, where they would remain orbiting planet Earth until the natural disasters were over. Against the wishes of his advisors and family members, King Enki decided that the human race deserved a chance to save itself from the cataclysm. He commissioned Utnapishtim, a good-natured man, to create a giant ship called the Preserver of Life in preparation for a dire flood that would end life on Earth. Even in the face of the mockery of humans, Utnapishtim dutifully carried out Enki's instructions and built the ship. Utnapishtim also sheltered and protected the essence of all the animals on Earth.
Like I said, you don't have to
believe
this.
Technology of the Anunnaki be used to collect the DNA of one male and one female from each animal specimen found. When the great ship was finally ready,
And the bloodline, they
Signs
took
of
these
approaching
stories with
Nibiru could
them.
be felt all over the world. Those who had mocked
This is fact, folks.
Utnapishtim now feared the results of their arrogance. As predicted, the Earth was devastated by an unprecedented disaster. Earthquakes ripped the surface of the Earth, setting up new continents. Volcanoes spewed lava and glowing smoke, incinerating everything in their path. Finally, a torrential rain raised the level of the oceans, which even covered the summit of some mountains. The splendorous city of Eridu and the Garden of Eden were destroyed, as were the terrible giant Nephilim. But, despite these horrors, Utnapishtim's ship held out and floated until the water returned to normal levels, unveiling a reborn world. With the help of the Anunnaki's technology, life on Earth was restored. Powerful new cities were gradually built, such as Babylon, Hattusa, and Knossos. Humans revered the Anunnaki again, worshipping them as gods and building temples in their honor. The human race occupied the new territories that arose after the flood, creating distinct civilizations, each representing the Anunnaki as deities according to local beliefs. But peace was again threatened as Enki's younger brother, named Enlil, wanted to be Earth's chief ruler. The Anunnaki allowed humans to have their own kings in their cities, but Enki was the sovereign with the title King of Kings. This position aroused Enlil's envy. The rivalry between Enki and Enlil became greater and greater, mainly because Enlil disliked humans and despised the fact that his brother had helped him survive the flood. Enlil believed that humans were laborers with limited intelligence. He never agreed with the accelerated development that the human race achieved with the Anunnaki's help. To placate the situation, Enki suggested a political marriage between his son Dumuzid and Inanna, Enlil's granddaughter. But Enki's eldest son, named Marduk, did not accept this idea, since he intended to unseat his father and uncle and assume the title of King of Kings himself. Marduk devised a plan that caused the accidental death of his brother Dumuzid. With the end of the arranged marriage, the enmity between Enki and Enlil escalated. Marduk was punished for the crime and exiled to a lonely desert. When he was informed of the disputes between the Anunnaki living on Earth, King Anu of Nibiru decided to intervene. Anu pardoned Marduk, who was released from exile and allowed to be among the Anunnaki. Anu also ended the feud between Enki and Enlil. He promised the two brothers and other Anunnaki of royal lineage a territory for each tool on Earth. Enlil was given the region of Mesopotamia. Enki got Egypt, Inanna got Persia, and Ninmah was given the Sinai region. The pardon given to Marduk did not entitle him to rule a territory. Marduk demanded Babylon, a city in which he became the main deity. Marduk decided to challenge the other Anunnaki, and, contrary to Anu's orders, taught his human subjects the secret of producing iron weapons and armor, creating the best equipped army at the time. Thirsty for power, Marduk ordered the construction of hanging gardens in Babylon to replicate the splendor of the ancient Garden of Eden, which had been devastated in the flood. Not only that, Marduk also ordered the construction of a great tower that was to reach the clouds of heaven, defying King Anu. The Tower of Babel quickly reached an impressive height, as the construction was intended to overshadow all the other Anunnaki buildings on Earth. The outrage was not ignored by the remaining Anunnaki, and each leader started preparing human armies to face Marduk. Obeying Marduk's orders, the Babylonian armies marched out to conquer and enslave other nations. This was the beginning of a great wave of war conflicts between the strongest peoples of the Bronze Age. The Anunnaki constantly changed sides and formed alliances with each other, leading to chaos and destruction in many major cities. Marduk's armies managed to dominate Egypt and Sinai. To confront the other Anunnaki, Marduk humiliated or annihilated the conquered humans. With no other way out, Enki and his brother Enlil joined forces. With the authorization of King Anu, they used the technology of the Anunnaki's weapons and ships to fight Marduk, an extreme decision with many detrimental consequences to the world. The destruction caused by the Anunnaki's weapons led to multiple natural disasters
And you have Pompeii.
volcanoes, earthquakes, and tsunamis destroyed entire civilizations. Crops disappeared due to air contaminated by volcanic ash, with famine becoming ubiquitous. Desperate humans abandoned cities or formed marauding groups to attack more fertile lands. These grim events were recorded as the Bronze Age collapse. After causing such a catastrophe on the world, the Anunnaki realized that the wars would never end and could destroy the entire planet Earth. To halt the debacle, Anu ordered all the Anunnaki to return to Nibiru and let the Earth be ruled by humans. Some human leaders descended from the Anunnaki were chosen to rule the rest, until the day when the Anunnaki will return to Earth to choose the people worthy of being taken to Nibiru, where they will live forever as immortals.
So are you listening to this? This is why I'm saying the similarities of, the two correlate with what the Sumerian ancient texts talk about. I just thought it was pretty interesting myself, because it was pretty cool to sit here and be like, okay, well, look at through all this other stuff and And as you heard him saying about that, some of the kings that were left here to rule on Earth were descendants of the Anunnaki. So they were half gods, where you get the demiurge from the descendants of these gods. And like I said, I just thought it was really interesting to see that. So yeah, getting into that, I wanted to talk about Gilgamesh, because Gilgamesh was actually a descendant of the Anunnaki. He was a demigod. And his rival Enkidu, who was sent to destroy him and get rid of him. I just thought it was cool because his tomb was actually said to have been found, him and Enkidu. They were both buried together. This video and be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I've seen that.
That looks like a person, but is not physical. The place in Iraq where researchers found this tomb is still a secret. Once the tomb was opened after being shot, no one expected what was inside. The idea behind this finding could have a big effect on how we understand the Epic of Gilgamesh. Stay tuned for more news and information. There is nothing more than finding out that people we thought were just characters from old myths were actually real people who lived in the past. King Gilgamesh from the Epic of Gilgamesh stands out among these famous people. This story is about King Gilgamesh of Uruk and his struggles, personal growth, and changes. The main part of this story is about his amazing adventures and superhuman skills. People say that Gilgamesh is 2/3 god and 1/3 human, which gives him superhuman strength and abilities. His height is taller than most people, and his beauty is on par with that of the gods. His holy family tree makes him stand out as a unique person, but having so much power makes people cocky. In the beginning of his rule, Gilgamesh's cruel behavior wears out his people with never-ending building projects and tries to exercise his power over newlywed brides, causing them pain and distress. In answer to the people of Uruk's pleas, the gods make a wild man out of clay and name him Enkidu. He is meant to be as strong as Gilgamesh. Enkidu's first goal is to keep the king from doing more damage by drawing his attention to something else. That being said, Gilgamesh and Enkidu become very close friends after a very exciting wrestling match that ends in a tie. They go on a number of adventures together that show off Gilgamesh's amazing skills even more. In one of their first adventures, they go to the cedar forest, which is the home of the god Humbaba. Gilgamesh wants fame and glory so much that he ignores warnings about Humbaba's great Shamash, the sun god, go into the forest with Gilgamesh's strength, determination, and help. When Gilgamesh faces and kills Humbaba, he solidifies his image as a fierce warrior, and the gods take notice. When Gilgamesh down the goddess Ishtar's approaches, it shows how strong he is. Ishtar sends the bull of heaven to destroy Uruk because he refused. Gilgamesh and Enkidu take this task head-on because they are both very strong. It makes the gods even more angry when Gilgamesh and Enkidu fight and beat a celestial creature. Because the two friends didn't follow the rules, the gods decide that one of them will have to pay the price. Enkidu is picked, but he gets sick quickly and dies. Gilgamesh is very upset about this loss because he thought he was unbeatable until now. Because he is sad, he goes on a deep journey, the quest for immortality, to avoid what happened to Enkidu and himself, which is to die. Gilgamesh is looking for Utnapishtim, a man who has been given endless life after surviving a great flood. This story happened before the Bible story of Noah, but Gilgamesh's limits are put to the test on this trip, which includes crossing huge mountains, meeting the Scorpion Man and his partner, and finding his way through the waters of death. Throughout his adventures, Gilgamesh shows how strong, patient, and unwilling to give up he is. Utnapishtim, on the other hand, tells Gilgamesh that people can't become forever. He tells his own story about the flood, and how he was picked to live and was given the gift of eternal life. Utnapishtim gives Gilgamesh a challenge. If he can stay awake for 7 days, he might find the key to endless life. Ganesh is determined to do it. Of course, Gilgamesh fails, showing how limited his power are, nature and holy law. Still, Utnapishtim gives Gilgamesh a reward to make him feel better, a plant that can make you young again. Gilgamesh gets the plant because he thinks it will be useful on the way back to Uruk.
All right, so I'm going to fast forward.
Geologist at the time,
I'll put this
and
in there,
Samuel
you guys can
Birch,
check it out.
who was the director of the Department of Antiquities. Rawlinson saw how talented Smith was and hired him right away as an assistant
These are
in
actual
the
videos
Assyriology
the two
department
that
in
were leaked out
1870.
of Iraq.
Smith made his first important find when he dug up a piece of a tablet in 1872 that had part of a flood story that was eerily similar to the story in Genesis. He realized that he had found an old Babylonian version, the Bible story, that came before the Hebrew one because of this discovery. Researchers and regular people alike were amazed by Smith's results, so he wrote a book about them called The Chaldean Account of Genesis. Besides that, he gave an interesting talk at the Society of Biblical Archaeology and read his version of the tablet story of the flood.
So as I said before, all this stuff is crazy because you get into this stuff and you find the similarities between the two, and not even just the two, but just throughout the ancient world in itself. So like I said, the Sumerians worshiped these guys, the Anunnaki, as Anunnaki, who were supposedly supposed to come back from this planet Nibiru, which we are finding out is possibly on its way back through our orbit, because the timing of when its last appearance into the timing now is said to be coming to pass. So what you have is, are these stories true? If they're saying that they left and they will return again to take the people up to the planet Nibiru to live forever, doesn't that kind of sound like the return of Jesus or the return of God? His sons and his daughters, the chosen ones to go live. Kind of crazy, I think. But Cool. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this? What do you guys think? Because you have these ancient gods, and we're finding out that the pyramids are actually a lot older than what they've told us. And it makes sense because if Thoth, who is Inky, ruled there and he had all this knowledge, it would make sense that he would build these structures before they left for the flood. And we know that the ancient pyramids and the Sphinx actually show signs of being underwater. So if this also is true, and Thoth is actually an Anunnaki god who was there in Egypt and teaching these people and giving them knowledge and showing them the ways of how to live and how to prosper and how to harness energy. And we've not only find him doing it there in Egypt, we know that he left, it says, to the Canary Islands and to the islands in the east where Atlantis is supposed to be, supposedly said to be. And he's teaching, or he comes from there, and he's teaching all this wisdom, and he shows these people how to do all these magnificent things and these structures and all this energy and all this knowledge and wisdom. And he's not only there, but he leaves and comes to the Far East, in South America, where we find that these buildings that the Aztecs found and the Mayans, excuse me, found in South America were already here. They just moved in and started just living there. We know that Thoth, who was Inky, he traveled and he left, and he came and he established these places on these ley lines, because we all know that the pyramid, all that pyramids all over the world lay on ley lines, and they're built on aquifers as a power station. He taught these people how to live and how to survive and gave them this knowledge to do it. And he's in fact the same people throughout the history of mankind. He was the bringer of knowledge, and he was the one that was bringing all this information and technology to these people to try and show them that they can not only live and survive by harnessing what we had on earth, but he gave them knowledge. Right. And we know that ley lines hold a meaning for power, portals, um, a lot of different people were saying, well, if you go from one spot and you lay a line from, whoa, power almost went out, through Egypt or through um, certain structures across the world, that they intersect with each other, which is really weird because I haven't looked into that, but that's what they're saying. And we'll look into that too, ancient structures. And that's crazy how you see the similarities of I can't even say his freaking name, Ishnapitnam, who is Noah in the Bible from ancient Sumeria, talking about them having to build this ship and to save humanity. And I don't know if you got a chance to hear it. Let me go on. Let me look at this, so that way I can show you guys. Let me I'm going to put these in here. You guys can check them out for yourselves. Put the videos in there. Make sure you guys get them. Because, like I said, I don't like having information and just keeping it to myself. At least you guys will have it as well, and you can look at it yourself. There we go. Here's the one of Gilgamesh. What are you doing? I don't want to do that. Here we go. I think I already put that one in there, but anyway. All right. So, like I said, you look at things from the old world and you see the similarities of the ancient gods from here, from the Bible. I keep saying from here, but I'm saying like from the Bible, and you see that it actually isn't old or isn't new, it's old, it's ancient. And we get into this thing of where you have these stories telling us that these gods came to earth, mated with these women, and it says in the tablets that some of the offspring of the Anunnaki and these people that were on earth were left to rule when they left to go to heaven. So, wouldn't it make sense that the rulers that were on earth, the bloodline that carried through them, because we know that Noah was a descendant of the Anunnaki? They just fucking said it right there. And we know who came from Noah. Everybody else. Noah, Jesus, and we know that Jesus, this is another fact that I found out, and I didn't know this, was that we all know that Mary gave birth to Jesus as a virgin birth. And we just heard them talking about inception. They took their own seed and put it into these females. Wouldn't it make sense for us to think that they did that same thing because they wanted their bloodline to carry on for Jesus to be a king? And not only did Mary have a virgin birth, her mother. So we see this correlation of these beings coming down and manipulating our life and our population and how we are and steering us in this direction. It made me think, okay, well, if they were doing that and they would put Jesus into the womb of Mary and he is the descendant of these people and he's been talking about all this stuff in the Bible when he came around talking about, I am the way, the truth, and the light. And you hear in the Sumerian tablets, and Lil calls himself the King of Kings. It's not the first time I've heard that, right? He came to pave a way. And we know that he left to go into Egypt, Tibet, into India. Wouldn't it make sense for him, for everything that he was teaching, that we find that It was twisted around. We have hidden Bible or hidden books that were kept out of the Bible that teach on this. And like I said, this is a discussion. This isn't something where I'm just like, this is fact. Y'all can take it or leave it. Well, actually I am saying it's based on something, that information that is passed down, that's ancient than what we know now. The Bible was something that was written hundreds of years after these people were dead. But we're coming to find out that the stories that are in this, that were picked up by Moses, that were picked up by the ancient Israelites, and it says they were going to go back into the land and start worshiping the old ways they were doing. Remember when Moses went up into the mountain, they started praying and doing all this stuff because they were like, oh, well, Moses isn't going to come down. They reverted back to praying to these ancient gods. So they carried this tradition with them all the way through into Israel. And that's why I said, when you look at this stuff, it's not what you're thinking it is. It's different. Not everything that we know of is the truth, because it's been twisted around to not only deceive us from what we were supposed to be and how we were supposed to live and where we come from and who we are. A lot of things are being kept away from us because they don't want us to understand and to know the truth. Because when you keep people in power that are suppressing and keeping other people enslaved, they don't want to let that go. They don't want to let that slip by. I mean, goddamn. They don't want to let that slip by. So, why would you want to give up your power if people knew the truth versus keeping the lie going? They don't want to let that go. They don't want to let people freaking just run amok and do what they want to do. And oh man, if they knew what kind of power they had and they knew what kind of knowledge and what their spiritual awakening could be, we'd be in fucking trouble. A lot of people see that as demonic, or it's not from God. But you got to remember that what you're saying is that your Bible, they're telling you that it's this other deity, but in the ancient Sumerian tablets, they're telling you who these people are. They're telling you, well, we don't want to hear that. That's fine. I'm just presenting you with the facts. You look at it yourself. It's hard for people to break out of that concept of, well, I've learned this my whole life, and for you to introduce something in that's going to just shatter that narrative, it's hard for people to break out of that. But like I said, once you start being open and you see things for what they really are, and you start doing research and you start looking deeper into this stuff, it makes more sense. It makes a hell of a lot more sense. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up was the CIA document that was released on the Adam and Eve story. Um, like I said, my wife and I just sat down and we were looking at this stuff, and I'm not even gonna freaking go through it. But when you read it, trust me, you're not gonna fucking look at things the same way either. Because everything else that I just told you about, there you go. I just posted it. Wait to see when it gets up into the feed, and I'll put it on the other one. I can't put it on my main page because it says it's a read only. So when I'm done here with the video, I'll I'll send it over to that one, and yeah, we'll get that on there. I won't leave you hanging. I won't hold on. Hanging. All right. So if you guys can see this, let me know if you're able to, which would be cool because I think the last person that I had some contact with was Ken. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys have any questions or anything, just type them in to the comment box. Let me, you know what? Let me open up my homepage and I can go on there and I can do it there. All right, there we go. All right. Hey, so my brother Habib said, in considering that Noah lived to be the age of 950 years, which is that is extremely low. Hold on. Are you guys able to hear everything? I mean, I don't. Everything should be good. Everything's working. All right. Well, I'll post it on. I'll post them on to the Facebook page, bro. Give me a second. Give me a minute. All right. Let me open this bad boy up. I am on my. All right. Sorry. So I've got this one open. Let me open up another one, and then I'll have both of them up so that way I can chit chat with everybody and we can do this whole thing again. All right. All right. So here we go. I am going to open this page up and then we will go to the live. Open a new tab. A new window. here. Go here. All right. So we're good. All right. So you're not able to click on it or anything? All right. I got both open. All right. Let's do this. Let's do this. All right. Now we got this side. Let me open up this one. And we will put that one. The audio is really low. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? How you like me now? All right. So can everybody hear? Everybody? All right, there we go. All right. Well, sorry about that. I guess there was a technical glitch or something that was going on. Our power was surging. I don't know why, but it was just weird. So sorry about that. Hopefully, it'll let me do this. So hopefully, you guys got a gist of that, the whole beginning of the video. I hope. Um, all right, cool. So, all right. Can you dig it? All right. So, what we have is these ancient texts that came through Mesopotamia of these gods who came to earth, creating man, giving us power, knowledge, and wisdom. The ancient lineage of these people who were the first creations, who came from Adamu and Eve, are the ancestors of the Anunnaki, or a relic because their blood is within them, which is pretty. When you think about it, you're like, wow, what? Uh, but yeah, let me see if I can do this. That, that is, in fact, why you have Noah, ripe age of 50 years. You had people living longer than that. And like I said, the kings that at that time during ancient Samaria, they ruled for like 47,000 years, I believe it was. And you see that them living for as long as they were, it would make sense when it talks about the Anunnaki giving them long lifespans. And like I said, it's very interesting that you would have the similarities of them and not think, oh, well, there's got to be something going on here. There's got to be a correlation between the two. And we know that's we know that's a fact. We know that's a fact because we're finding more and more of these ancient tablets, more and more of these ancient cuneiforms, more and more of these this ancient knowledge that has come into pass. And when you get an abundance of this knowledge and you find, okay, well, I just want to make sure, can everybody hear me? Everybody can hear me, right? All right. So Habib, my brother, I love you, man. Thank you for joining in on the main channel. And I think I got Ken over on the Seeker of the Unknown, correct? But it just blows my mind that we have these similarities and we have this information and people just refuse to take it as fact because they don't want to hear it. And as I've always said, I'm not an expert by no means. I'm just looking for the truth. I'm just looking for answers here. And if you want to come along with me and join me, please do. Um, that's what we're here for, is to share this information and this knowledge together so that way we can talk about it. We could study it. We can go, hey, did you know about this? Did you see this? No, I haven't seen it. Let me see. Let me see if I can do that document one more time. That's not what I wanted to do, you stupid. Community standards. As I said, I have this video. It's not letting me copy it to the comments for some reason. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me and you guys are all good and we're good to move forward for this last couple of minutes in the episode. Because it doesn't sound like anybody can hear me. Let me check this out real quick. All right. So we. Can everybody hear me? Hmm. All right. Well, hopefully everybody can hear me. All right. Well, sweet. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Well, it's going good on that one. Let's check out the other site. So anyway, like I said, I mean, hopefully you guys are enjoying, getting some of this information. And like I said, my brother Habib, I love you, man. I remember our conversations that we would have when we were over in Iraq, and me picking your brain about a lot of stuff too. You're probably like this stupid white guy. But yeah, I wish I could get on here and bring you on, bro, because I want to. Let me see this. Let me get this thing open here real quick, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. All right. So this is the CIA document. I was released in 2013. Oops, sorry. All right. Now this document, which was released by the CIA. God damn, I can't talk today. All right, here you have it. The Adam and Eve story by Chan Thomas. All right. And it's talking about it goes through everything. Everything. I mean, it you have to see it. It fucking blew my mind. All right, it talks about the next cataclysm. It talks about the great flood, the story, the event, Genesis, and the conclusion. And like I said, you had three Genesises that they're predicting: Noah's, Adam and Eve's, and the next one that's going to end up coming. And like I said, these guys, they knew something was happening. They know something's going on. And it goes through everything. Now, the interesting part for me, let me go back. All right, here it is. I just wanted to read. And like I said, you can. So the event, he calls it, is the Adam and Eve creation. So read, like I said, I'm going to post this in the comments when I get a chance to. It So you have the original Genesis, which was over 45 billion years ago. And he says then translation interpretation of Genesis 1, 2, and 3 from the reconstruction of what the Naga text must have been given to us the chapters as we have had them in English. then retranslated directly from the Naga to English, bypassing the Greek and the Hebrew. So this is direct translation from the source, not going through freaking Greek or Hebrew. Cut that all out. They know in the beginning, which was actually 4.5 billion years ago, the universe was created. And I'm going to get to this whole thing with Adam and Eve. All right. So it says, surviving then were the beasts, the cattle, and everything that crept on the earth, and it was God's intended and good. And according with God's design, man, who is created in the image of God, intended also to survive and had dominated over the fowl of the air and the cattle and yada, yada, yada. All right. So it says here on the second chapter, if you're reading it right in here, it goes into talking about how heaven and earth were reestablished after a great cataclysm. And it says, and it was God's will after a cataclysm that a continent eastward be established, and there in Eden lived the man of this story, who we are talking about, our Adam. And from this land grew other civilizations on other lands, with the motherland in the midst of all, being at the seat of the wisdom of all knowledge and be good and evil. And the indentation destroyed Eden and left only its 4 offspring lands. Are you hearing this? 4 offspring lands. It says, note, the next 4 verses are probably incorrect, with the true description locked in correct translation of the Egypt's Book of the Dead, and the missing portion of the Piri-Reis map. The first land near the river Pison, which includes the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of the land is good, and there have blah, 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 blah. And the second land near the river Gihon, the same land which included the whole land of Ethiopia. And the third land is near the river Hiddekel. That is the land toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth land is near the river Euphrates, which is Egypt. And it was God's province. The man was of Eden, where he lived and toiled. And he was descended from the original mankind who had settled that motherland. This goes to the pre-Adamites. And they talk about this in the Bible, is that there were pre-Adamites on the land on this earth, which this translated book that they got in English translation, straight, no Greek, no Hebrew, no nothing. This is straight translation. Is telling you that yes, there were men that were living on this earth, which correlates to what the Bible had said, because like I said, everything you're getting from the Bible came from all these ancient texts, everything. And it was God's design that man should not be there alone, therefore a mate would be his. And since God had originally created every beast of the field and fowl of the air, and at this time Adam had named each one of them. For Adam's mate had, listen to this. This tripped me out. And Adam gave names to all the cattle and to the fowl of the air and every beast of the field, but for Adam there was no mate. For Adam's mate had died after giving birth to a child of Adam. And the child of the man was a female, made in the image God had intended. And Adam said, this child is the bone of my bone and the flesh of my flesh. And she grew into womanhood, and therefore the man was both father and the mother to her. She abode with him, and they were of one flesh. And the climate there was warm, requiring little or no clothing. And at the time of the beginning of this story, the oceans were in their normal state of quietness. And it was known to the woman of this story that she was not descended from any of the people of the lands which sprang from the mother continent. The God's design was the man and would learn that the people of the offspring lands would live on. But the people of the motherland from whom she had descended were going to die. She knew that in spite of impending inundation, she would not surely die. And the woman, being of the motherland and being wise and good, knew that both she and her father were descended from the original mankind of the motherland. And they both were wise and had lived a good life. And it was the time of the year when some clothing was needed for warmth. And in the cool of these days, when they were wandering to which of the offspring lands they should go, and God's presence was felt strongly by them, Adam felt God's call and said, I have heard God's warning since the summer and have feared, for I knew not where to find refuge. God's warning had also come unto the summer as a warning to leave the land of his ancestors. So God used summer to tell them, hey, we need to leave because we're not going to be able to stay here. And the man said to the woman, who is my daughter, and the descendant of my ancestors, gave me this knowledge, and asked her, what gift of knowledge has God given you? And the woman said, I am of your ancestors, and inherit their wisdom, and the coming inundations of the oceans has been made known to me. And God's design was that the ocean would be inundate the lands, and draw all the cattle and the beasts of the field, and bury all the dust. And God thus gave me victory over the oceans. God's design was, although the inundations were greatly multiplying her sorrows, she would even so bring forth children, as her love would be for her husband, and his for her. And unto Adam it was God's will that he heed the words of his daughter, and God's warning that though they be descendants of the original mankind. See, you got to understand something, is that everything that we've known, these ancient texts talk about the same thing, but it's not what we're being told. The translations were being lost, the wordings were being separated, and they were just putting things in. Now you're finding that everything that we've been told is from everything that's older. That man wasn't actually created, that we were here on this earth. He was separated and put into a different land to survive and live after the first cataclysm that happened, which we find in the ancient Sumerian tablets, is that there was a cataclysm that was already here, and there were beings and creatures and people that were living here that were on the earth. And when they came down, it makes sense. It makes total sense. So, I mean, and it's talking about the knowledge of good and evil from the motherland, from his homeland where they came from. And he was being put forth in order to live. So he left the Garden of Eden to survive and live from the soil where he was to go. So the man left the Garden of Eden was subject to the cataclysm of an earthquake and fire. The motherland lost its foundation and sank beneath the oceans. Sounds like something else, right? An ancient civilization? The Atlanteans? So yeah, I'm going to post this on here. And like I said, this was made available from the CIA archives, released. You can check it out for yourself. You don't believe me? That's cool. Like I said, you can look it up for yourself. Everything you need to know is in a book. And it's not all in just the one book everybody always wants to look at. But that in itself was derived from other texts, more ancient texts, texts that were thousands of years before then. Everything we need to know, everything that we have to know, everything that we should know comes from ancient texts. Everything. A lot of people don't want to realize it and don't want to let go of this doctrine that's been pounded and beat into your head for so long. You don't want to listen to it. You don't want to hear it, which is fine. But like I said, when you're walking a path and you don't want to open your eyes and realize what truth is, what really is going on, you're just walking blindly. So, like I said, I am going to post this stuff um, into the comment section after this video is over, and hopefully you guys will be able to look it up for yourself. You can research it, check it out. But like I said, I read that document that the CIA released about the Adam and Eve. It blew me away, man, because like I said, the translation is direct from the source. There is no middleman. And the only one exception, like he said, is that the lost in translation, he was trying to get it as close as he could, but the lost translations are in the Book of the Dead in Egypt. So hopefully we can get those translated as precisely as we can, because that will be the key that a lot of scientists are looking for, because it's actually going to be something that will put to sleep this whole narrative and link all three of these books together, or these civilizations together. Because like I said, you have the Anunnaki who came down, Enki and Enlil. You have Thoth, who is Enki, who's sitting there trying to tell everybody, hey, I want to give you knowledge, pass all this information on. You see him taking different shapes, because it says that he would, when his body needed to be rejuvenated, he would go into a hyperstasis chamber, take that body so it could recover, get another body, transfer his consciousness to that body, would reawaken in a different form and would be somewhere else. They would know him and see him as somebody else. You have the Mayans, who inhabited the buildings where South America, where he went to, and he was teaching them all the knowledge, because those buildings are older than them. They didn't build them. They inherited what was there, just like the Egyptians inherited what was already there. These buildings are thousands of years older than that. And scientists are proving that fact, that they were there before the flood, because you're seeing the water erosion and the wearing of these ancient structures. All these ancient texts correlate to what we have been hidden from, to what has been lied to us, and it's only made possible because we have people that have actually gone, Zachariah Sitchin, um, what, um, all these. Yeah, and last January they found some. There's a lot of stuff that is being uncovered in Egypt that they're suppressing. Thoth's book, or his library, or his vehicle. This is nuts. Is that Inky, who was left here? He wasn't just left here to just suffer with human beings, because he was able to transcend and be able to go back and forth when needed between here and Nibiru. But last year, like you were saying, it came out that there was a massively large structure, or something that was underneath the paw of the Sphinx. And we know, because when you look at the ancient text, Thoth says that the vehicle that he rides in is underneath the Sphinx's paw. Now, they were going to make this known and do it. They were going to go broadcast it live, but then it got shut down. And I think they did that because they didn't want to release a lot of this stuff and this information. But there are actually there's a chamber that's above the supposed burial chamber, which is it's a resonation chamber, which Thoth talks about, like I said, going in there and transferring his consciousness to different bodies, where his library is. And it is said that he said that the knowledge that men would need to further ascend or to become more conscious when it was ready, when it was their time, would be they would find it. It would be revealed. And they found a chamber. They're not revealing what is in there or what it is, but we're believing that that's what it is. A lot of ancient texts. I'm getting into. My next thing is going to be reading the ancient emerald tablets. If you don't know what those are, you need to look into that, because that's something that's going to open your mind a little bit more um, into the knowledge of what Thoth was doing and the knowledge that he was giving people, and finding the secrets to long life and immortality. Um, he had left all that stuff written down on those tablets, and there are 13 tablets that are comprised into 10 to make it so that way we can have books. Authors and professors have condensed it into 10 books from 13 from the tablets, which is really interesting, because when you look at it, like I said, he goes into talking about going into the underworld and describes the underworld and describes death. And when you look at the translations in the tablets themselves, the correlation between our scriptures now that you have in Christianity are the same. And like I said, a lot of people don't want to realize that these ancient Sumerian writings and cuneiforms that talk about these beings that came to Earth, gave us this knowledge, created human beings. People don't want to think of us as, oh, you got to have, there's got to be a divine in everything. There's got to be, this all seeing. Yes, there is a creator. There is a being that is a creator that has created everything, but it's not what everybody is thinking. Like I said, you could take it for what you want. I don't know, a lot of people don't want to hear it. But when you do the research, it's easy to sit in that comfort zone and say, oh, I know when I die, I'm going to go to heaven or go to hell. That's not the truth. That is a lie that everybody has been put into deception on, to be kept in control, to keep you from freaking understanding and realizing who you are and what we're capable of. And Jesus, like I said, Jesus was one of the people who came and tried to tell everybody the true meaning of who we are, the true essence of what we're capable of doing. The words in the Bible were twisted around to get you to sit there and think, oh, well, if you do sin and you do bad, you're going to end up burning in a lake of fire. This life is your life. You go throughout your life and you learn your life lessons. And like I said, it goes back into the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Sumerians. And they tell you, when you die, you're either going to be reincarnated or you're going to stay there and you're going to be like, I'm done. I don't want to have to do this anymore. I'm good. Because we know that energy is pure. You can't destroy the energy. Our soul and our spirit, our body is a battery. This suit that we're wearing is a battery to keep our soul to be able to just move around and walk around and do what we're going to do. And when you die, this soul leaves and ascends to the next plane. And I've done a lot of looking into and researching on that as well. And the ancient Sumerians talk about how, like I said, the gods had hyperstasis chambers and were able to transfer their consciousness from one body to the next. And they were giving men the knowledge of doing this and being able to understand that when your consciousness leaves your body, they are able to put it back into another avatar, into another suit, which is why you hear people talking about being reincarnated, which is in India and other religions. It's a big thing because this knowledge wasn't just passed down to one certain people. It was given to a lot of people all over the continent, all over the world. And this ancient teachings have been distraught and been twisted around to make it to where it's just one God. You're either going to die and you're going to go to heaven or you're going to go to hell. And that's it. But as I said, you got to do your own research and do your own digging into. I'm not here to sit here and tell you this is fact. Stand up on a pulpit and preach to you and tell you that you better put some money into this plate. I'm going to pass around this offering plate and tell you, if you don't do it, you're going to go to hell because God said so. Look at what you are being lied to. The ancient stuff is there. The knowledge is there. We're at an age now where our understanding of what is really going on and what we are really, what the real truth is being brought out now. And this is all stuff that there was, like you heard it, thanks Sumerians said, when the man is ready and they're, after all this stuff is done and we're done killing each other off and doing all kinds of crazy crap, and these idiots that are doing whatever they're doing, the people that are opening their eyes and realizing the real true nature of this life essence and our ability on this earth that was given to us is, like I said, the destructive nature of who we are as human beings is not what we were intended to be, is not what we were meant for. We were meant for something so much greater. And to let people dumb you down and tell you that, you don't have the power to heal yourself. You don't have the power to talk into existence the things that you want. You don't have the power to create and to be a powerful being and a powerful entity. That it's all the devil. That it's all evil. That lie is coming to an end. They're going to end up losing their grip on it because, like I said, the CIA just released this. I didn't release this. The CIA did. So you can look at that and then take it back to the ancient texts and see for yourself that everything that, all these researchers have been doing, like I said, conspiracy theorists, whatever you want to call it, everything that we've been saying and that people have been talking about for years, it's true and it's coming to light. So with that, I'm going to say thank you guys for joining the show. The episode was great. We had a little bit of glitches there for a little bit, and I'm sorry about that. But we had a great show. I lost you guys there for a little bit, but I'm sorry that it was not as interesting. And I wasn't able to get all the stuff that I wanted to put on there because, like I said, it would take forever for us to go through all this stuff. I'm just giving you the tidbits of information, and you guys can look it up yourselves. If you guys want any more information, hit me up on Facebook. I'll post it on there and give it to you, what I can lead you on. But yeah, do your own investigating, do your own looking up, look into this stuff, man. Because like I said, once you look at everything and you don't take it you take it with a grain of salt and you don't take it for its face value, and you do your own research and you look and you start reading and you dive into this stuff, it makes more sense. It just really does. And I'm not saying that everybody who's, faith is what we have to keep us going. All I'm saying is their direction of your faith and how you're perceiving it and thinking, oh, well, this is just the way it is. It's not. And the waking up from the matrix and disconnecting from all that stuff and realizing our path and where we need to be as a human society and pulling together and being a collective race. And I'm not talking about New World Order crap. I'm talking about human beings consciously becoming more aware of who we are and what we're capable of doing together. If we could all just pull together and do things that we need to do to make this world a better place, we wouldn't have elites telling us that, oh, well, these people got to starve and these people don't. These people are haves and these people are have-nots. You're black, you're white. You're tall, you're skinny. You got to have more of this. You got to have more clothes. You got to have all this materialistic stuff that ain't going to matter. Because when you die, it's just going to stay here. What we do in this life, the things that happen in it, the knowledge that we create within ourselves, and awaken up. Is that how you said? When people wake up and they realize the true nature of who we are as human beings and what we're capable of doing and what we can do together as a human society, will be the day that we become free. So I'm glad that you guys are able to come along with me on this journey, and we can have these discussions. And thank you guys so much for the support of the page, the podcast. And hopefully we can expand this a little bit more. Next week, next Friday, like I said, I had told some people, my buddy Josh was asking about when we were going to be doing more episodes. And I told him, once I figure out what we're going to be able to do, I will let everybody know if I'm going to be able to do it twice a week. I'd like to be able to do it twice a week. But like I said, Fridays are my days where I can just focus on it and do it and be able to put an hour or 2 hours into it and have it done. So if it does change, we'll get that done. Also, I am trying to get merch for the podcast, and it'll be shirts and sweaters, and I'll probably get a few hats, and I will let you guys know when I get that done. So, like I said, thank you guys all for being here. Thank you guys all for the support. Thank you guys. Man, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I can't even talk. But thank you all for the support. I appreciate you. Love you all. And the interaction really means a lot. I appreciate you. And we will do this again next Friday. And we'll pray that you guys have a good weekend. Be safe. And many blessings to your families. Many blessings to you all. And just remember who you are and what you're more capable of doing and the choices that you make every day. And I will see you guys next Friday. And thank you guys again.